and it was ProMat. It was ProMat last year where I had this great idea to meet offsite at ProMat, which I thought was a lot closer than it actually was, in a co-working space that was about the size of a closet. And you made the trek over there, and I mean, I'm grateful for that, and it just was obviously the start of something with both of our companies. But it's just
Yeah.
it was kind of funny looking back on that you agreed to that. So thank you. And I'm not gonna do another podcast offsite at ProMat where you have to travel 20 minutes to get to a kind of a dingy spot.
You remember like I don't know if they were I don't remember what the noise was, but do you remember like in the hallway, right in the middle, they started making all kinds of racket.
Yep. No, it was what could go wrong, kind of. What
Yeah.
it did go wrong, but it was we learned from that, and I think this has been a much easier uh, platform and just experience for for anyone that wants to come
Yeah.
on. So,
Um no, I mean that's funny because we were just talking recently about innovation, and I don't remember who said it, but it said, it was basically if you're not embarrassed by your first version, you waited too long to release it.
yep.
And
Well,
so
yeah. Didn't have any issues there on that one. Getting into the industry, starting off at Swiss Law, growing, moving up from a project manager to, executive level extremely quickly, obviously is not normal. So I guess kind of
sure.
talk through how you got in the industry, that quick journey, and maybe what clicked along the way to be able to grow so fast in such a large company.
Yeah. I think you have to take all of your experiences that you have along the way, and sometimes things start to come together at the right time. Um, and so before I came into automation, material handling, whatever we want to call it, I was in the elevator and escalator world, and I did a lot of managing of people in that space. And the people that I was managing were actually a lot of union. There were some union, some non-union individuals, and that's a very different management style. It's a different way of leading people because you're kind of always asking them what they want to do. And being up in Wisconsin, I'm sure that's maybe familiar to you as well. So I think really what happened is when I made the transition over to material handling automation, I started with Forte, which is a small sole proprietor. I really focused on light goods conveyor pick modules. And then we were purchased 1 year after I joined Forte. We were purchased by Swisslog, and so I got into this, kind of larger corporation, a lot more opportunity. Um, I think I had learned so much about myself in the elevator world, and then even that first year with Forte, and just trying to adapt to a new industry and a lot of new people. That things just really started to come together in my mind about what I wanted to do, who I was as a person. Um, Maybe it stopped the ladder climbing kind of approach that we all have when we're young. It's like, oh man, I'm going to be a CEO of a Fortune 100 company, whatever it is. And I started to figure out where I wanted to play, and what I wanted to do. And I knew that I wanted to lead teams. I didn't know where that would actually go. I, quite frankly, didn't even know that I would get maybe to where I am today. But I knew that I enjoyed working with people. My background similar to yours with college athletics. I knew I wanted to be in a team environment where we're comfortable. And I think all the conditions were just kind of right at that point in time. A lot of opportunity was given to me or put in front of me with Swisslog, and I seized those opportunities. A lot of new challenges, things I wasn't comfortable with. Started traveling globally. I mean, um, with Swisslog, I had never before that point I had never even left North America. Canada, Mexico, but that was really it. And then all of a sudden, I'm flying the Turkey and Germany and then China and you just figure it out along the way, right? There's nothing really that you could do, but you just take all those experiences and then I think I've had some really good mentors, some really good leaders along the way. And yeah, I think some of the people that I've worked with, not only at Swisslog, but now at Kardex that have joined us over at Kardex, um, we complement each other really well. That's my leadership style is not one that's authoritarian or controlling. It's actually kind of the opposite. I routinely tell our leadership team, right, that we're leading this organization together. It's not me leading a team and telling everyone what we're going to do. I value the people that are around me, and we lead together. And I think that's a big key.
Yeah. How did going back to baseball and playing college sports? I mean, how kind of two-part question with that. How did that, playing the role in college sports impact, your career? And also, did you have any coaches that have a similar leadership style to what you're doing now, where it's not because for me, that's what I go back and I think of that. The best coaches I had were the ones that, it wasn't about them. So
Yep. I um I don't know. I've never thought about that. I mean, I had a couple that popped in my mind, and I thought, nope, they
yep.
were kind of
Same
about them, right?
same
So,
same. Yeah.
um, I think I take a lot of experiences from college athletics that I probably reflect a little bit more about how poorly I handled myself in situations back then,
Yep.
and about how I don't want, so I learned from things or mistakes that I made, along that way. And I think I've learned that way as opposed to, being able to look around and really connected with a coach or something like that. I mean, I had really good coaches. I mean, again, a lot of them went through my mind when you were asking the question,
Yep.
and a lot of really good guys, a lot of characters, right? I mean, I think that athletics brings that out, um, but I think a lot of what I do in a team is, I remember times when I wasn't a good teammate. I remember, times that I was probably a little too full of myself and I shouldn't have been. And I think those things have helped mold me into who I am today, which is just not wanting to be that person that I was when I was young and kind of foolish.
Yeah. Knowing what not to do, still trying to figure out exactly what you are doing.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that makes sense. At
What
what
I
point?
mean,
Go ahead.
you might have asked that question, right? I'm curious. What's generally your response? Like if I would flip that question around, what was your experience?
I mean, I would agree with you on the coaching part of things. There was a lot of people that went through my mind that I'm like, no, that's kind of the same deal. Time management and just like knowing that you can do way more than what you thought was possible. I mean, that was for me, like going back and thinking of some of the workouts that we were put through. Um, just knowing that you're capable of a lot more. But same thing. I think if my mindset was different then, with maybe not worrying about what people think, or letting other people's opinions or thoughts of my skill set impact how I play. Um,
Yeah,
so kind of the same deal. Like if I know what I don't want to do, and what I don't want to be like, and the things that the mindset that I don't want to have. So I agree with you. I think it's kind of very similar, where it's like, man, if I could go back, it's not like I'm going to be playing for the Bucks or anything, but I think
yeah,
maybe I still probably would have played longer after college, if that was the case. But you know, we're here now. I'm glad with the way things worked out, but it is always interesting to think of that. Like if you would have just, and it's not even if I would have worked out harder. It's just like if you would have just had a different mindset.
yeah. It's
Um,
mental, right? I mean, that's. Man, I know that we both have kids, and like that's something that you know, that I can't crack, and I know that a lot of other parents are trying to crack along the way. But to try and help your kids have confidence earlier, just have that mental clarity that seems like just magically doesn't come to you until you're in your late 20s, early
right.
30s, whatever it is individually. but you wish you could crack that and give it to, I'll just say the youth, right?
Yeah.
That they could, identify what's possible a little bit earlier in life.
Yeah. No, it's got to be a lot tougher now with social media and just the access to see everyone's
For
opinions.
sure.
So much more easy, where it's like, for me, it's like you'd have to go search for a lot of it, go to the message boards, or, I'd read those. I'd go to it and read it just to get pissed off and then like go to the gym. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't read it for searching for compliments. That's for sure. Because there weren't that
Well,
many out there.
yeah. And I mean, man, like you know, you had at least a basketball program that had message boards, right? Like playing
Yeah.
baseball at, a mid-major in the Mid-American Conference. Like, if we got 50 people to the game outside of our parents, right? Like we were really happy. So
Yeah.
typically if there was going to be something said on a message board about us, it was probably like family or somebody's girlfriend, right? Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah, who is whatever Toledo baseball 456. Yeah, you know who
yeah,
that
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Um no, going back to kind of where you kind of made that shift, from not thinking of climbing the ladder, being project manager, to moving up. I guess even talking through mindset, like how did that,
yeah,
I guess what clicked for you, other than like just not wanting to, it's not like you didn't want to climb the ladder, but I think maybe it just
yeah.
you weren't so focused about, hey, you're getting yours, you're selling versus like actually becoming, a
Like,
leader
man,
and sharing that.
yeah. I, again, I mean, you talk about mental approach, and I've been thinking and writing and talking about this a lot, but um, I think up until that point when things clicked, I was trying to be who I thought everyone wanted me to be. Um, like I think I'm a weird guy overall. I mean, the things that I like, the things that I enjoy, the music I like to listen to day to day, what I think is fun in life and what I don't think is fun in life. They all uniquely make up who I am. And I think up into that point, even though I knew the right things from a leadership perspective, I understood business really well, financials, whatever. I was always putting on kind of a front or an act. Like there was the work me and then there was the home me. Um, and I personally think that stresses people out as individuals when you're always trying to have this persona. And I can remember one day I just didn't really care. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think just me, who I am, I think I can go do that and still be successful. And, again, just as I mentioned, like thinking about this, talking about this recently, I can remember this time I had this pair of Nike golf shoes, and they were like a suede gray wingtip. And I can't remember what they were called, but it was one of the first times I ever saw like a molded bottom. But I thought these were like so freaking cool. They were like nothing I'd ever seen before. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear these to work today with jeans. Like because like I think they're kind of cool, right? And so I think that was the click for me, is that when you clear your mind of like, okay, how am I supposed to act in this situation? You kind of you free up some mental space that you don't have to focus on the act, and now you've got all of your brain power to focus on the hard problems, solving them. Whether it's relationships or something that you're trying to solve for a client or whatever it may be. I think it's really freeing, number one. And then number two, right, you get more brain capacity to focus on the things that actually matter instead of just being like guarded all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I articulated that great, but I think that was really the switch for me. Is, you know, like I started coming to work in a hoodie every day instead of like a button down shirt that I was getting up early to iron every day. Right.
Right.
It's like I'm the same guy in this hoodie that I am in that starch white button down,
Yeah. Yeah, or probably a different guy, right? You're actually you versus you put on the button down, and you might, makes it a lot easier to try to pretend to be somebody you're not. That's the
Yeah.
same thing for me. I mean, the same thing for me. We talked about this before. It's like, wear a quarter zip, wear a hoodie. It's not like I'm coming in, baggy shorts and not looking presentable, but it's just like
Right.
I'm gonna be myself at home, be myself here. Um, I knew that was gonna be your answer, obviously, because we talked about that before. Um, so much so that you're writing a book on
Yeah.
that. I guess talk through that, and at what point did you think think of that?
Well, it's it's first, let me say, like, I'm really happy on the way that things are progressing. I think it's quite difficult to, whatever your career is, when you're dedicated to your career, you've got a family, and now you go, hey, I'm going to take on this side job of writing, 50,000 words in my own voice that I hope can help somebody else along the way. So, um, I'm really pleased with the way that the progress is going. I made a commitment a couple months ago to folks that went on and helped me fill out a kind of a survey to give me some information that I could, really pare down information. I felt like I had too many topics, and so all the folks that filled out that survey, I promised them by the end of Q1 that I'd have a chapter for them to preview. I'll say that I'm 98%. I think it's too boring right now. I don't
Hmm.
think it's like a perfect reflection of me, but I'm really happy with the content. Again, it's the chapter that I wanted to release to everybody, and it's like, a glass of bourbon and an hour away from being done.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm happy with that. I think every other chapter is at least 50% complete.
Okay.
So, I'm calling myself like over 50% complete. And again, we all have a lot of things going on in our personal lives and our business lives. During the day, I really dedicate and focus my time to Kardex and what we're trying to do there. And then I try and squeeze some things in, at night, in between sports and home life, getting some writing done. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's called Authenticity Amplified. And it's important to me because, again, I think that the change that I went through was that authenticity, or that person that I thought I needed to be. I was able to just kind of shed that and just show everybody who I was. And I think commonly now I talk a little bit more about my home life and kind of who I am, because I think it gives others a really good perspective of where you come from, who you are, what your values are, what your ethics are. All of those things kind of wrap into the person that you are, and it really makes a complete story of your teammates and who you're working with, and you can get rid of some barriers and really get some good work done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, it's
yeah,
got to be a good escape, not escape, but just a way for you to kind of get away from the day to day, things that you're working on at Cardex. Focus your energy on that. But at the same time, it's like you're obviously still making an impact on your company, because it's going to be an easy way for anyone that works with you, for you, to understand who you are too. So it probably
for sure.
you know twofold. So that's cool. No, as soon as when I saw that on LinkedIn, I was jacked about that, and I obviously will be having a few of those books here for people to read. So
I appreciate that.
um
No, and yeah, I know that some folks that you're at 2-3 filled out the survey. Um, I want to get a chapter out, and then, true to my fashion, I want to collect a little feedback,
yeah.
hopefully honest feedback from everyone, to be like, man, that was boring,
Yeah.
or that was really good, and when can I get the next chapter?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm learning. I don't even want to call myself a writer right now, but just someone that's attempting to write a book. Um, I know what I like. I know what I want when I read a book. But you don't want it to be about yourself, right? I'm writing a book for other people,
Yep.
not for myself. And so collecting that feedback's a major step along the way. And, a lot of conversations have happened already. A lot more in the future will happen so that I can make sure that this book is what people want to read. Again,
Yep.
not what I want to write, but what people want to read and what they want to hear about.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You talked, you kind of went over it quickly, but you said, you had some people along the way that helped you, mentors, um not several coaches, but no, just people along the way from your career. Just if you want to, talk on that and kind of shout those people out who have helped you along the way, or are still helping, um,
Yeah.
you along the way.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll talk about two. One, is never going to hear this, I don't think. But the first internship that I ever had when I was in college was in the elevator industry, and kind of the top guy in the office. I worked in a customer support center for the elevator and escalator industry. Kind of think call center, but also like account management, all existing kind of accounts. Um, and he was, the vice president over basically like the entire customer service organization. Um, I can remember we had 3 or 4 interns that were in there that were doing work. We did a lot of data work, a lot of data entry, and we were just trying to learn the business. And I had a lot of questions, and I just wanted to know how business went, and you know, um, kind of kind of why we were doing the things that we were asked to do. Like, what was the result of all this data entry that I'm just like mindlessly entering in?
Right.
And I can remember any time that I went in, the guy's name was Rod Hoyne. And anytime that I went into Rod's office and I said, "Hey, Rod, do you have a minute? I just got a couple questions." And I don't care what he was doing, he would either like close the clamshell on his laptop, turn away from the monitor, whatever it was, and he would say, "I have more than a minute. I have all the time you need. Come on in and let me know what's on your mind." And there were two things that to this day I've taken away is number one, the role of us as leaders is to be available for our people. It's not for me to get a report done that I need to send to the Kardex group or something that I have, right? My main task is to be there for our folks, to be accessible when they need me and without time limits, right? So
Yep.
as long as it's not like me competing one against the other,
Right.
I I have taken that all away from my first internship that I try and make as much time as I can. And sometimes that results in night work, weekend work, whatever it is. Fine, no problem. I'm willing to do that because the number one thing on my job description is to be there to support the team when they need me.
Yeah.
And then the other thing to me is that an organization has to be mature enough and ready enough for interns and co-ops. Um, right now, I will tell you, we do not have an internship co-op program at Kardex. Why is that? The reason is I don't feel like as a group we're ready. We're still trying to establish ourselves. We're launching a big software platform at Modex. We're burning the candle at both ends, literally.
Yep.
I was up till midnight last night sending emails, and our marketing manager was sending me emails at like 4 a.m, right? So we
Yep.
are wall to wall right now getting ready. I would never bring interns in to where we don't have time for them, because for me, my internship was about me and me getting the most learning out of it to prepare me for the business world.
Yep.
And there's too many times that I've heard that interns and co-ops come in and they're there to do the work that nobody else wants to do.
Yep.
And I mean, what a shitty way to treat someone that is trying to come into the business world and just wants to learn and be a sponge, and you just give them all the crap that nobody wants to do, right?
Yep.
And so I've always told, our leadership team, we've always talked about, and I've always kind of put out there that if someone wants to request an intern, we have to make the commitment that it's not about getting some labor at below market cost. It's about their experience and about us wanting to help, those interns get out in the business world. So, that's Rod, and the two things that Rod Hoyne kind of taught me really early on. And yeah, it's like 23,
Yeah.
22 years later, and I'm still holding on to that.
Did when he was available at the time, did you understand how important that was, and or was it more so once you became a leader and people started coming into your office that you realized, like, maybe not in the moment when you were kept going into his office? Because I kind of went through a similar thing where I didn't understand. I had asking the same questions walking into the president of the company's office, or the president of the company's office, and the door was always open and kind of same deal. But I didn't appreciate that until I was in a similar role.
Yeah. Let me, I'd say it's both. So I recognized it right there and then, because he had a management team underneath him. Um, and some of them were good to work with. I don't remember the guy's name. It's funny how you don't ever remember the bad ones. You remember the good ones. I think, sometimes maybe that's in reverse, but at least for me, I remember the good ones, and the bad
Yep.
ones, I just kind of, but they offered me a job out of college to work for this one guy. He was a bad one. No matter what you were doing, you were just bothering him because
Yeah.
he had a mission. And honestly, looking back, like, he was trying to climb the ladder. That's all he cared about. And um, so I think I had some recognition there, but it really starts to sink in, later, once you're
Yeah.
put in those positions. And you know what? To be honest, there's a lot of people like you and I that have those recognition of those people that helped us early on realize things. But what good is it if we don't put it into play kind of as we go along, you
Yeah.
know?
No, it's a good reminder, because it's like you're saying you're up till midnight working. It's, you guys are in the rapid growth state where it's like but you can't lose sight of, how you're going to grow. And if you're not available, you can't do it by yourself. So, I mean, it's a good reminder to hear that, and to see other
Yeah.
people, obviously see other people doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned there was one more that you wanted to shout out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my big shout out. The guy knows that, he's a mentor. I'll say there are two guys, Marcus Schmidt, who used to be, the president of Swisslog in the Americas. Um, Marcus is now, I'm sorry if I mess up his title, CEO or president of the Americas for Boimer. Um, you, Marcus is one of the most, humbled and good examples of a servant leader that I've come across. And I'm going into the back, here a little bit, like in my past. Um, I think Marcus, I look to him to learn to relax a little bit. Just by nature, I get excited easier. I get excited about the little things that, our software team puts a spinning robot coin when a bin is arriving from AutoStore. And we have this little spinning robot coin, and I'm just like over the moon. I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Yep.
And everybody's like, man, that's just like something we threw in last minute. And to me, it's about the user experience, and, like, people know that something's working when there's something on the screen spinning instead of just like a blank screen. So I get excited about little things, and then I get worked up about, other things. A customer makes a commitment to us, and then they go back on that commitment or whatever, right?
Yep.
And I don't want to be vindictive. That's not really what it is, but I want to know why they did it and how we can avoid it next time, and
Yep.
go repair the relationship, and let's do it right now. So Marcus taught me that, I think the way that I would paraphrase it is, look, it's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is. And if you can learn to keep things a little bit more even keeled, me personally, I may live a little bit longer, that I don't have all these like ups and downs. And I think the bigger thing that Marcus taught me is your team feeds off that energy. And so if you get really worked up because of something that happened, then everybody else is like, do I need to be worked up too? Like what, so everybody's anxiety kind of rises. And then, um, I'm really appreciative of the things that I learned from Marcus. I still keep in touch with him. We talk, I would say like on a monthly basis. Sometimes it's about some weird little competitor that popped up in the market, or sometimes it's me calling and asking him questions. I mean, we're planning to expand into Canada this year, and I know that Marcus has experience taking Swiss Hug into Canada, so I picked his brain about what are the risks, what are the things I need to be talking about, and you got to have those people. So, not only professionally, but Marcus is this real like even keeled fella that um, just kind of gives me some really good insights without ever telling me that he's giving me really good insights.
Yeah. Yeah. It just
Um,
seems more like a conversation, not like he had anything prepared for you. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, and I consider him a friend. And Jake, like you and I have talked about that, it makes conversations sometimes easier when you're more at a friend level.
Yep.
I understand you a little bit, you understand me a little bit, and we can have those conversations that
Right.
way. So, and that's what I feel with Marcus.
That's awesome.
So the other guy is AK Schultz. Have you heard of SVT Robotics?
Yep.
So SVT Robotics to me is one of the most successful, startups in our industry in the last 5 or so years. There's certainly some other organizations that are out there. I think SVT, took this old concept of 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 like middleware, I'll say, and they hate it when you use that. So I'm not calling them a middleware company, but SVT took this kind of middleware approach from way back in the day that was really bespoke and like kind of awkward when you would get on a project and there was going to be a middleware in your software integration. It was like a translation service, and you were like, that's weird. And they've really carved out this entire new channel um, that's called orchestration. And what they're doing is they're orchestrating companies to be able to work together where integration has always been a problem in the past. We're really proud that at Kardex we've partnered with them. It makes all of our integration to WMS ERPs. It makes that very flexible. The customer has a lot of choices on how we do that integration. And I think specifically we know that sometimes getting the resources on the WMS or the ERP side is really, really difficult. Those resources are in high demand to make changes. And so if we have the highest level of flexibility on how we integrate, um, that makes the entire project more achievable, I would say, because you don't have all that external work on your WMS ERP.
Yep.
And really SVT makes that all possible. So that's like my shameless plug and my commercial for SVT. But so AK Schultz, when Swisslog bought Forte, AK was the head of customer service for Swisslog in the Americas, and then he changed roles to come to move to Mason, Ohio, outside of Cincinnati, and run the light goods kind of case pick in each operation, which is what the Forte group was going to provide for Swisslog. I think what I learned and what I continue to kind of learn as we go along is something that like everybody's heard of that Goldilocks zone, right? And we talk about it with planets. We're always looking for that perfect planet that's in this Goldilocks zone. I use that when it comes to leadership, right? So when you're leading, you can't be too soft, but you can't be a hard ass all the time, right? And so I always think of, well, you got to be right in that Goldilocks zone. And I think AK's always provided me a really good glimpse of what that Goldilocks zone looks like. Very empathetic person. He cares about his people at a personal level. It goes beyond just like knowing the names of my wife and my kids. He knows he truly is interested in like my wife's career and is she being successful. And Not because he thinks he has to, because he leads, but because he likes people and he likes knowing what they do. And so that part comes naturally. And I think I had to learn that. I knew that I was projecting kind of myself and who I was to the world, but I needed to learn how to ask questions and learn about the people that I was working with. Um, because let's be honest, I know you and I have talked about this, but it's not just individuals that work in our organizations or that we work with, Jake, but it's their entire family.
Yep.
Um, and I lead the team as if we all kind of work together, and I believe that's the best way forward. But like, make no mistake, I know that the decisions that I make at time to time, that doesn't only affect the people that work for us, but their entire families. They're counting on me and they're counting on us to make really good decisions and do the right things
Yep.
to lead a viable organization. I think AK really taught me that. Um, and we continue to have conversations. And just a couple weeks ago, I was in a text string with him and his wife Emily, and we were reminiscing about old stories about when AK and I worked together. And I'm not going to tell the one story that I want to tell because AK is actually going to write the intro
Okay.
to my
Awesome.
book.
Yeah.
And there's a really good story actually that happened in Wisconsin, um, at the American Inn, or I think
Okay.
that's how you say the little chain up there.
Yeah.
But AK and I got in really late to Sheboygan, Wisconsin at like 1 a.m. And the interaction with the lady checking us in at the American
American Club,
Inn.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
No, this is
Kohler.
this is not the America Club or the
Oh,
American Club. No,
yeah.
this is like you've got a little chain in
Yeah.
Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
That's like the American Inn, and it's like a Fairfield Inn or like a Motel
Okay.
6 or
Oh,
something,
I'm
right?
thinking this is a golf thing.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
This is
All
like
right. Okay. Yes.
we were coming to see a customer,
Okay.
and everybody can probably guess who that customer was in Sheboygan. And no, we just plane was late and we checked in at like 1. And AK doesn't play golf. But we were coming to see the client and we got in really late and we were slap happy. And this lady was like sleeping in the back room when we showed up. And like, anyways, long story short, I think that's the one thing that I've always taken from AK is that I know that there are people out there that go, man, AK was really hard on me sometimes. And I'm one of those people. He challenged me really hard at times. Um, and there are probably other people out there that go, man, AK was too soft on people, right? And I think the one thing that I've always known about AK is that he truly believes that there's this middle ground, and you can have tough conversations with people. If you're doing a good job leading people, you can have hard conversations, but they don't need to be you know
Extreme. Yeah. Yeah.
shitty, right? Like you
Yeah.
can have good conversations, and sometimes people really appreciate those things, so
Yeah.
um so yeah, I mean, AK's an important person. He's one of the most brilliant people that I've ever worked around, so it's no surprise to me that he's had all the success. He was one of the co-founders of SVT. The other co-founder, Mike Howells, was my first boss in the industry at Forte, way back. Mike, very, very heavy software background. They started the company together. And AK's taken that into the future with a lot of big things planned ahead. They just released another version. I don't know what I want to call it of their softbot platform called Monitor. And there's a lot of great things in there that companies can use. And look, they've done some announcements. I know there's more coming, but there are some major corporations that are signing on with SVT and basically telling all of us, Jake,
Yep.
things that you're going to bring in, things that I'm going to bring in. If you want to work with us as this big company, you're going to integrate through SVT.
Yep.
So what a beautiful place when the customer scoping you to any automation that comes in the building.
Right.
So
Right. No, it's big time. But I mean, staying on that with you guys, I mean, with Kardex AutoStore from I guess give everybody a high level, and then, for anyone that follows Kardex AutoStore on LinkedIn, you can see you guys are in just an absolute frenzy of hiring people.
yeah,
So that's been awesome to see the growth. I mean, over the last for me and you over the last year or so, but really the last several months has been pretty crazy. So I guess
it has.
talk through that.
Yeah. So first, let me just say, right, like, um, the last time, this podcast is definitely different because, I feel like I'm just talking, right, and it's
Yep.
not. So I don't care if you cut this part or if you don't cut this part, but like, I owe you a couple beers at Modex, and I want to talk about you guys too, right?
Yeah.
And I want to catch up with you. Yeah, I want to talk golf and I want to talk a bunch of other stuff too. But
Yep.
but hey, so yeah, with Kardex, we've been on a ride. That's been great the last few years. So we're about 2.5 years in. We would say globally, the Kardex Auto Store Group is 3 years in, just in February. So February 2021 is when we launched in Europe first, the European market. And then later that year, August 2021, we launched the North American group. And then September of 22, we launched the APAC group that's based out of Singapore. So those three groups were the fastest global partner, the fastest global auto store integrator, however you want to say that. We're the fastest growing by far. And in the 3 years since we've been up and operational, I got to make sure that's right. Yeah, 3 years. 3 years now. We've got over 50 projects globally. So you could do the math. It's more than one a month. And the one thing that I'm the most proud of, Jake, is we can open up that Rolodex of those 50 clients. Not all of them are live right now. Some of them are in the contract, the build stage, but we can open up that entire Rolodex of clients, and you could call any of them and they're all referenceable. And that's the thing that I'm most proud of, especially here in the US. Every client that we've worked with, we could give you their number right now. You could call them and say, what's it like working with Kardex? How do you like your system? Did they deliver what they said? How's the software working? And what you're going to find every time is that our clients are going to say that we delivered on what we promised. The system is, the auto store is working the way that it's supposed to work. And if they would recommend us, they're going to say, yeah, we would recommend Kardex. I think the other thing that I'm surprised at with our clients is how well connected they are to others that have AutoStore. And, we make it a habit about talking what we can do and why we believe that we're the best. We don't like talking bad about our competition. But I do know that our clients tell us, hey, when we call around other people that we're in a network with, they didn't have the same experience with their AutoStore integrator, and we gave them your name in case they ever want to do another one. And that means more to me than anything else. So August 2021, it was just me, one person in the US starting this group. I think as we sit here today, with commitments, I think we have one person starting on Monday. We'll be at 38, which again, if you do the math, is like more than one a month.
Yeah.
I have learned in the last 6 months that I am terrible at onboarding. I think that I'm really good. I shouldn't say that I think that I'm really good at onboarding. I think that I'm prepared to do onboarding. And then that deck that I made for onboarding hasn't been updated in 6 months. So I'm like, Josh, moving things around and trying to. So we're really excited. We just brought on a guy named Mike Brogan, who is our director of talent and culture. And so Mike is going to lead all of our recruiting efforts, but he's really going to help us be a better onboarder because, again, for me, somebody joining, like, the experience out of the gate needs to really show what we're all about. And I think some of our other groups do that really well. Fred Fox, I know you know Fred. He's our VP of operational success. He does a phenomenal job at onboarding. We just brought in TJ Fanning, who's our VP of sales and consulting. That with TJ just starting, I'm handing that over to him. I was always running the sales design teams, and that's where I was really bad at onboarding. But yeah, I mean, things are going really well. We've got some lofty targets that we want to go achieve not only this year, but in the next few years. It's the first time in my professional career that I've talked to a team about, I don't want to say an impossible target, but a target that is like borderline insanity. And instead of people looking at me going, what are you talking about? They're going, oh yeah, like let's go do this, right?
Yep.
And that's like something that I've never been around. And by the way, that's not just for us here in the U.S. That's globally with the Kardex AutoStore group. We do a really good job of talking and collaborating globally. So we're constantly working with our counterparts in Europe. I have a phenomenal relationship that spans back to Swisslog with the guy that runs our APAC organization. We collaborate a lot. You want to talk about time zone problems, but with the team in New Zealand and Australia, or the team in Australia that covers New Zealand. Yeah, I mean, Kardex does a phenomenal job collaborating across time zones and across continents. And really, we think that now and in the future, that's what makes us the clear choice for a lot of these global organizations that are looking to roll out AutoStore globally.
Right.
There was something that I wanted to mention. You and I kind of talked about off camera. Sometimes there's this thought in the market that anybody can do AutoStore, right? That anybody could just call up AutoStore and be an AutoStore partner. And it's not factual. And it's by design, right? I mean, I've been working now with AutoStore for 7-8 years, something like that. They're very, very selective. I mean, I've heard some stories from people that almost don't like AutoStore as a company, integrators that don't like AutoStore because they tried to become an AutoStore integrator and AutoStore said, no, sorry, you don't meet our criteria or what we're looking for. So, here in the US, there are only 7 companies that are authorized, enabled by AutoStore to sell their product. Now through partnerships, like kind of what you and I have set up, I should say you, I, and Fred have set up.
Yep.
If 2-3 Solutions would have a really good client that has AutoStore, you can enable them to get AutoStore by us working together. So
Yep.
Kyle or somebody on your team may have a layout that they're doing with maybe some pick modules and some conveyor or a racking layout. And you guys would lean on us to give the AutoStore portion of it. And then we would work together to deliver that to the end user.
Yep.
But AutoStore is not going to deliver that direct to 2-3 or to any other, integrator that's not in their network already. So, I hear that a lot, like, oh, well, anybody could sell AutoStore. It's actually, they can't. It's a really select group in the United States. A lot of really good companies, a lot of big companies that have a really big line card of all these different technologies. It's something that I think makes Kardex very, very unique, especially in the US market is, the Kardex AutoStore team, it's all we do is AutoStore.
Yep.
And you and I have had this conversation before. The reason we're so good at delivering AutoStore projects is that's all we work on.
Yep.
I don't do case shuttles and, mini load systems and AGV systems and all these different things. we want to be the very best we can at AutoStore. And we have a commitment to our clients that if AutoStore isn't a good fit, we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to introduce them to a company that we know can take care of them, that has the technology that they need. A lot of times it's actually that they don't quite meet the business case for needing an auto store. And in that case, we would work with the Kardex Remstar team to get them potentially into some VLMs or a carousel or something like that. Because there is kind of a logical break on when, a VLM, sometimes called a shuttle or a carousel, works better than AutoStore. We're not going to sell that customer an AutoStore. We're going to get them into a technology that they feel good about. And then if they grow, maybe it skews, volume grows, whatever it would be, then we would talk about an AutoStore sometime down the line. So to just, finish up my long diatribe there.
I think it's necessary, though. I think I think it's necessary to do that, because it's not, you type in AutoStore. I wouldn't say it's clearly defined to the masses, like how it's structured. So I think that was
Yeah.
perfect.
No, and I would just say, AutoStore's got a great business development team. If anyone, is like, hey, there's 7 companies, how do I pick one of those 7 companies? I would encourage you to just call Kardex, because I think we're the best. But if you're not comfortable with that yet, AutoStore has a business development team. You could just go to the AutoStore website. You could put in your contact information there. And then AutoStore will have a business development group that catches up with you, looks at your business case, like looks at some high level things. And then they get to a point where they go, hey, if you want to go further, we need to introduce you to one of these partners, because AutoStore doesn't deliver direct either.
Yep.
That they'll always push it to one of those 7 partners to, to deliver the system, here in North America.
Yep. No, I think that was necessary too, because I mean, even that was when we first met. I mean, that was one of my first questions, is just understanding how it was all structured. Because once you get into it, and once we've been in on, at least gathering data for a project, there's a lot that goes into it, and it has to work. It's not just yes, that's the only thing you guys are focused on, but if it's not the right fit, you're not gonna push it.
That's right.
So I think that's something that you said that a lot of people don't do. You kind of overlooked that, because it's just obvious for you, and it's how you build relationships with people. But I think a lot of people do that a little backwards, where if they have one thing that they're selling, they're walking in just trying to figure out where they can jam that down.
How they get, yeah.
Yep.
No, and so we commonly talk, our entire company talks about that core value for us is called, we want to sleep good at night. And that's about as simple as it comes, right? And if you're out there selling things to customers that isn't going to work, but you got the sale, I hope that the people we have working for us aren't sleeping well at night. And I can tell you, I'm not sleeping well at night.
Right.
I think I'm a terrible liar, right? Because I'm like, man, I said something I wasn't supposed to say, and I got to clear it up with you. It's because I'm not sleeping well, right? So, we're really happy about that. And I think that permeates down through our project success group as well, our project delivery. If a PM thinks that, let's say we overestimated a category, coming out of COVID, I'll give you one from a couple years ago, but freight was a big thing that we would overestimate sometimes. We, double it. And it was because we were scared, right? There was so much going on in the market, and how are we going to get something from, this port all the way across the country? How long is it going to sit at the port? We had no contractual obligation, but we just gave that money back to the client. It's not our money, right? They gave it to us on good faith that we were costing their project in good faith. And so it didn't make sense to me to put an extra, $30,000 or something in our pocket when the customer was expecting us to cost it accurately. And so we have no problem going back and saying, hey, you know what, we screwed the freight number up and we were over. Here's a negative change order back for $30K. And just generally, and we've talked about this. I know you feel very strongly, but if you do the right things with people, that comes back to you over time. You don't know how, you don't know when, and that's okay, but it
Yep.
comes back, and
Yeah.
that's what's important, I think.
Yeah, and you don't do it because you want something in return. It's just to your point to keep it as simple as possible. You want to be able to sleep at night. So, no, I think that's perfect. And
Yeah.
I think it takes time for people, especially in sales roles, to understand that. I think someone early on might get that opportunity, maybe not 30,000, but maybe it's 1,500 or $2,000, and it's like they're looking at it. Okay, I tripled the amount that we actually had, and now we have some more money. Where it's like, nah, if you just give that back like you did, you know, over the next 10, 20 years, you're going to see that customers. It's not a normal thing to get a negative change order.
Right.
So customers are definitely happy when that happens.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. No, I mean, it goes within life. I think if you treat people fairly, you're transparent on where things are. I, I also think what we've seen from our clients is when we're really transparent about those kinds of things, if we do have a change order or something that comes up, um, we can address it with them open and honestly. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, we owe you that little bit of extra cash for whatever it is. A lot of times it's they have a request, they want additional equipment or
yeah,
something. Um, but I've always told our team, look, if we feel like we're being fair and transparent with the client, and the client has an extra request for something, you should feel really confident to go, hey, that will be extra. Is that something you were thinking that it would be extra, or were you thinking that was included? And let's
yeah,
just talk it out. Um, it's amazing how many times, if you just kind of use your words and talk things out, you find out that everybody's really reasonable on the customer side, right?
yeah.
Like we're
Well,
all we're all
yeah.
humans with families just trying to get along.
Well, it goes back to your whole core of everything is just being authentic, right? So I
Yeah,
mean, I've said it on pretty much probably every podcast at this point, but it all goes back to that. So um no, I appreciate you coming on. I look forward to seeing you at Modex. This is going to come out, release this after Modex.
cool.
But I know I'm excited to obviously see you there and see what you guys have.
Yeah, we're excited. It's going to be a slam busy week, and we're hoping that we can continue to raise the brand awareness. I think that's the one thing that if I could rewind the clock back to 2021 and I could do something different, I would just be blasting on brand awareness. Kardex, Remstar, the client list is in the thousands,
Yeah.
and they've done such good work with shuttles and carousels, across North America. But there's still a ton of Kardex customers that they've heard of AutoStore, but they have no idea that Kardex is in the AutoStore business now as kind of like a next progression, right? When VLMs and things don't work anymore, the worst thing that we could have happen as Kardex is someone go to one of our competitors and get an AutoStore when they could just stay in that Kardex ecosystem.
Yep.
And so we're really on a mission to just tell everybody that Kardex does auto store, and we think we do it really really well. We've got just so many experienced people, people that have joined us from other organizations where they've been doing auto store for years. Um, and so we think we have the most experienced auto store team in North America. We know that our moral compass is in the right direction. Um, and that last piece, Jake, was our software platform.
Yep.
That we're launching at Modex. It's live. It's operational already at a handful of sites in the U.S. User feedback has been phenomenal. And we're going to be demoing that all week at Modex. I know you said this comes out afterwards, but we're
Yeah.
really excited about that. And then our intuitive pick assist, which, I don't want to call it augmented reality, but it starts to get you there to where, traditionally at an auto store pick port, you're doing it on a touchscreen panel, right? That's kind of up and off to the side. Kardex, this is a proprietary innovation for us, but we're actually projecting that down on the port around the AutoStore bin. So all the pick instructions are there, even pictures of the product and everything. And so ergonomics, efficiency, all of those things increase. And then we've got a host of features that we can do, like measuring how full the bin is automatically. Yep. So we can update RWES on bin fullness. How full is the AutoStore right now? Like we know because we've got this, vision system that's helping us with hand movements and things for picking, but we can use it for other things like, measuring bin fullness, inline scanning. Scanning is a big thing when you're picking. We could do all that with the IPA, and then we'll have a fully working demo version of that, I should say, at Modex. And so, yeah, I appreciate, coming on. As I mentioned, I mean, the next time we come on, let's do some more collaborative topics. I think those for me are a little bit more fun. Like you and I have a lot in common, just backgrounds and doing different things. I mean, if you remember, you and I were even talking about our family and our parents and different things, right? We got a ton in common, and I appreciate you. I appreciate what 2-3 is doing. With Warehouse.Chat, I think this is just going to continue to grow, and happy to be a part of it.
No, awesome.